Every great image starts with light. It's the foundations of cinematography. For decades, how we lit our scenes was defined by the tools that we had access to, and then LEDs. And now we're stepping into something completely new that I'm really excited about. Over the past few years, lighting technology has evolved faster than ever. We're getting more power in smaller bodies, better color accuracy, and smarter control. As a working cinematographer, I have felt that shift in real time. My lighting kit looks totally different than what it did 5 years ago. And a big part of that is what Aperture has been doing. In this video, I want to talk you through the evolution of lighting, from where we started to where we are now, and look to see where it's going. I'm going to be diving into my lighting kit that I use on all my commercial sets, as well as my personal recommendations if I was just starting out and looking to purchase some gear. Before I ever picked up a camera, I studied as well as worked as an engineer. I've always been someone who needs to understand how something works before I can really use it, and that's just how my brain works. When I made the jump into cinematography and video production about 7 years ago, that mindset really stuck with me. I didn't want to just place a light and move on. I wanted to know why it looked the way it did, why certain fixtures can produce different looks, why some lights give you cleaner shadows or more accurate colors. These are the things that I needed to understand. For me, lighting isn't just a tool, it's an art. And once you understand the what and why behind it, you can start to use it as a creative tool. You stop guessing and start shaping the mood, texture, and emotion with intention. And I feel like this is one of the most important things that people miss when it comes to lighting. And this is what got me obsessed with learning the history of lighting. Because to know where you're going and where we're going, we have to understand where we came from. So simply, let's break down the evolution of lighting in filmmaking and how the shift gave us more control, more portability, and more creative flexibility. And it starts with tungsten. These lights were the industry standard for decades. They run a color temperature of about 3200 Kelvin, which gives you that warmth, orange glow we associate with traditional film lighting. If you think of any old movies, any films like that, they always have that warm glow, which was always tungsten. The color rendering is beautiful, skin tones look great, and the fall off is super soft. But they get hot, like can't touch the barn doors hot, and draw a ton of power. Still, if you ever seen a classic Fresnel, chances are it was tungsten. Next came HMI, and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but it's short for hydrogen medium arc iodide. These are daylight balanced lights, typically around 5600 Kelvin, and they're designed to replicate natural sunlight. Huge output, super punchy, and perfect for matching exterior lighting conditions or blasting through windows. But they came with downsides. You need ballast boxes, they had strike times, and they are extremely expensive. Not ideal for small crews or run and gun setups. Usually you would see these on higher end commercials, movies, and anything with just large crews and also time and resources. Then everything changed with the rise of LEDs. Early LEDs were rough. Bad color accuracy, low output, but the tech improved fast. Usually with anything that goes into the tech world or technology, it's an exponential curve. LEDs run cooler, draw less power, and you can pack more into smaller fixtures. It's a game changer for indie filmmakers and small crews, and I feel like that's where everybody is really starting out. Within LEDs, we've got now 3 main categories that we're going to be looking at. Daylight balanced LEDs like the Aperture 600D or 1200D are fixed at 5600 Kelvin. These are built for output and consistency. They don't do color, but they are bright, accurate, and reliable. They're workhorses when you're trying to replicate natural sunlight. Bicolor LEDs give you a variable white range, typically around 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. This is incredibly useful when you need to match practical lights on set or fine-tune the warmth or coolness of a scene. This is typically in lower end commercials or narrative productions as well. Bicolor doesn't give you the full color like RGB, but with that added flexibility in white light is super helpful in fast-paced environments or mixed lighting scenarios. Typically, I generally have my daylight balanced fixtures outside blasting through a window, and then when I want something kind of more controlled and I don't need as much output, I'm generally using bicolor fixtures inside. Then you've got RGB or RGBWW fixtures. The Aperture 600C or 300C or anything in the C line. These use multiple LED chipsets, red, green, blue, white, and sometimes amber, to create full spectrum color. That means you can dial in any color on the wheel, emulate gels, or shift your white point across the wide CCT range, usually from 2000 Kelvin all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin. So it's not just about color anymore, it's about flexibility. You can shift the mood instantly, match practicals on set, or even run FX modes for things like fire or police lights, all without swapping a single gel or having to do a complicated setup. Usually these lights are reserved for those scenarios that you want something a little bit more. And now with new engines like Aperture's Blair, we are entering a new phase. One where we're not just shaping color and intensity, but the character of light itself. And this is where I get really excited about companies like Aperture taking LEDs and lighting to another level where we can get as accurate as possible. And this is where I get really excited about light and how we can quantify it. When it comes down to it, if we really boil it down to what light is, everybody is trying to recreate what we naturally see around us. And that is going to be the sun and the light it produces. When we look at a typical RGB light, we are looking at red, green, and blue. But if we actually look at what light is, it's made up of what you typically see in a rainbow. It's a spectrum of colors. So what makes Blair engine so different, and how is it trying to replicate what natural light is? The Blair light engine utilizes blue, lime, amber, indigo, and red LED emitters. If we look at a common color spectrum of daylight, we see that all the energy is produced throughout the colors. To explain this simply, what's really missing in RGB lights, really in any LEDs, is the light indigo. It makes lighting feel real and brings that extra bit of life to your images. In addition to the accuracy, it gives us the choice to match natural daylight or other LED fixtures, provides a huge range of plus and minus green and magenta adjustment, and lastly, incredible low-end dimming while maintaining color accuracy. And this is one of my biggest complaints because I've been using Aperture fixtures for a long time, and when you're using such a powerful fixture indoors, it's a lot of the time that you can't go lower than 1%, and that's way too much. So they adjusted their dimming curves and flexibility, especially on the low end of their products. Aperture is a company that I love talking about because I generally love their products, and these products really changed my filmmaking career as a production company and as well as a cinematographer. From what I own personally to tenfold as a production company and the lights I rent on bigger productions, I use their products on every commercial shoot I'm on. I shoot commercials on multiple different scales, and it's difficult to say what is the best kit or what I recommend as a cinematographer. This is very subjective and it really depends on the work that you're doing because it all comes back to context and knowing what you need, and I feel like that's the biggest thing that you need is experience. I remember when I had access to my first package truck and I didn't use half of the stuff in it because I knew what I needed, and nowadays I don't really need much because it just goes with experience. My lighting kit always changes depending on location, the concept, crew size, but there are a few staples I keep coming back to that I really want to list off that are always in my kit. First up is the F22C. This is usually my go-to key light for interviews or smaller spaces. It's lightweight, packs down, super compact, and gives me soft, color-accurate output with full RGB control. If I only had one light in a tight location, this would really be it. Then I usually bring the Aperture 80C with a Fresnel modifier. It's powerful and I often use it as a hair light or to lift the ambience in the room by just bouncing it off the ceilings. Sometimes I use this as a punchy hair light, sometimes I just like to bounce it to add fill. It's versatile and plays well in mixed setups, and it's really small and powerful too. I also carry the MC4 light kit. These things are tiny, but they're incredibly useful. I like to use them to add little pockets of light. Fill in a corner, push a bit of color onto a wall, or even tape one behind a practical. And when I need a quick on-camera key light for a dock style setup, they hold up. Those three are what I'd call my small set backbone. I can light most scenes just with those. Obviously with a bit of modification and some other things like grip equipment. But every scenario is different, and when I need some more horsepower, I'll reach for the 600C Pro 2. It's got the color, the output, and the build quality to anchor a full setup. Just gives me a little bit more. I'll also bring a 1200X or 1200D if I'm bringing with daylight heavy environments, need to punch through windows, or want a crisp hard source for shaping. And finally, a set of Titan tubes or any really tube light really wraps everything out. I love to use them for edge lighting, soft wrap, or even hiding practical style and shot. Great for color and great for speed, and especially lighting effects as well. At the end of the day, lighting's never one size fits all, but building out a modular, reliable kit that gives you freedom to adapt without losing time or quality. When it comes to lighting gear and camera gear in general, I have a tough time making recommendations for people who are just starting out or in the beginning stages of their career. Gear costs money, and I always like to preach that knowing how to use tools is way more worthwhile than owning the nicest ones. In today's market, the lights that I would start off with is a flex light with a set of small lights. For me, that would be the F22C and a set of MCs. The reason I picked a panel light or flex light over a COB is due to what you would be shooting when you first start out. And this is going to be interviews, small narrative commercials in tight spaces, and really anything that you can do in the environment around you. You only start to need bigger lights when you start to work on bigger projects and need that output in different locations and different scenarios. And that also comes with so much more challenges and just headaches, frames and fabrics, bigger stands, crew, and so much more. Out of the box, I can get a pleasing look with the included diffusion and other light shaping tools, such as the grid, as well as the shroud that comes around it. I would like to recommend something like an 80C at this point, but due to the flexibility of the F22C and other needed things to get soft looks out of COB lights, the F22C just has it all, and that's my personal recommendation. Paired with small light sets, you can easily use them as a fill, hair light, practical, or add any pockets of light you're looking for. When it comes to anything in this career, camera equipment, lighting, you are going to be constantly evolving. I started off with my phone, then an A7 III, an A7S III, an FX3, and now I co-own a Sony Venice. This happened over a span of 7 years. It's obviously good to practice buy once, cry once, and only buy the equipment once, but realistically, when you're running a business, when you're starting your career, you can't necessarily do that because you're balancing so many different things. Buy a lighting kit that is in your budget, that works for you, and then you're going to iterate off that. Resell those lights to buy and invest into something else. You're always going to be leveling up your career no matter what, and you can't just start with the most expensive things. I hope this lighting history, as well as just talking about gear in general, is something that helps you in your career wherever you are. I generally love to talk about these things because this is what I'm generally excited about. I love technology, and we are in a point in filmmaking and just life in general where technology is increasing at an exponential rate. If you guys enjoyed videos like this, let me know in the comments below, or anything else that we want to dive into or break down. I get super excited about that too. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.